Hey guys, go take a sip already. It's Jess from Stark Skincare. Happy to have you back. Happy to be back. Be back. A little out of it today. So much personal stuff going on. If you follow me on Instagram, you might know a little bit about it. Don't really feel like talking about it here, but I am a little bit distracted, so bear with me. I need some more omegas in my brain too. We haven't met before. My name is Jess. I am the founder of a teeny tiny skincare company called Stark Skincare, and I make all natural, for reals, skincare products specifically created for the urban dweller. So super chock full of antioxidants and different ingredients to help specific problems that people who live in the city may have, besides dealing with parking and dealing with neighbors. So we're going to talk about what you pay for in green beauty. So why products can be priced just all over the map, and how you can walk into, a store like a health food store, and you'll see something for, $20, and how, you walk into a boutique or an online boutique and there's something similar-ish for $300. So, why is pricing all over the map in green beauty? And of course, it's kind of all over the map for many industries, isn't it? So I know for some reason what's coming to mind is that in what you call it, piercing jewelry, huge markup. I don't know why I know that, but there's something like a 500% markup in piercing jewelry. So crazy, right? And so you might know that one of my backgrounds is in fashion. That was my cat. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Is in fashion. And in fashion, generally how it goes is you've got your cost, like from the manufacturer, which let's say it's $5. So then you would wholesale that garment at $10 so that you would make a $5 profit. And then the wholesaler would retail that product or redistribute. Anyways, once it gets to the retail price, it's then doubled that. So then the garment would be $20. So the more levels that there are in between something being made and something selling at retail price, the more people that are in the middle of that like distribution chain, the more expensive it's going to become. So that's why more and more now you've got those companies such as Everlane, who are both the manufacturer. Well, they're not exactly the manufacturer, but they figure out, exactly who's going to manufacture. They get it done right there, and then they take that garment and then they sell it at retail. So they don't have distributors. They don't have anyone in the middle. There's no contracts. There's no licensing. They're not, what's the word I'm looking for? I forget right now, but they're not, contracting someone else to get it, to figure out like how to get this pattern made somewhere else. Then they have to pay those people, pay for the cost, pay for the manufacturer, blah, blah, blah. They have their whole supply chain set up where they even choose the fabric and everything. So, the green beauty industry is kind of similar. So the way it works for a lot of us little companies is that we buy our products at bulk from wholesalers. This is generally speaking. Of course, there's different ways of doing it, but generally speaking, we buy our raw ingredients at bulk from wholesalers, and we'll have a number of different suppliers for different things, and then we throw it all together and sell it to you. So, one of the complaints I know that customers have, not my customers, because you guys are awesome, obviously, but just, other like people in general, and, even a complaint that I have, I guess, is you look at the ingredients and you're like, ugh, well, I could just buy, a liter of this and it would cost the same thing as this entire bottle. which is true, but what is anyone going to do with a liter of argan oil, let's say? Like, you cannot get through that stuff fast enough. It's just going to go rancid. And then, especially at the amounts that you have to buy things at bulk, it's a lot of ingredients. And if you're a DIYer, you know how annoying it is to have these huge jars of like zinc oxide or whatever that you just needed a little pinch of. And then you're stuck with like a lifetime supply of, different powders and different actives and different kinds of things. And like even shea butter and even, olive oil, or like, unless you're like cooking with the oil as well, it's really hard to get through these huge amounts. So you're not really paying for just what's in there. Now, how should we look at this? Okay, so there's the cost of the bulk ingredients. That's one thing. But there's also the knowledge of the formula of those bulk ingredients, how to put things together in a way that feels really good, in a way that the oils interact with one another to sort of help each other out, different properties and different functions, so that everything works together really synergistically. That's important. That knowledge is important. The amount of time and effort and obsession that goes into formulating something is really important. And, knowing that with a lot of ingredients, less is more is also important. So, one complaint that customers have is, well, why am I paying for something that's, just aloe gel with, these actives that are way at the bottom of the list? Well, those things way at the bottom of the list can be uber important. There's a lot of actives that you cannot use over 1%. You just can't. You burn your face off. More is not always better. And if you've ever experimented with retinol or vitamin C or anything like that, you know that that's true. Like, you can't just pile on more for more results. You can't just use 4 times the amount of hair conditioner for better results. You'll just have greasy hair. It doesn't mean that it's a bad product. It means that you're not using it properly. And it's the same thing in creating a formula. You can't just add a whole bunch more of certain things and just be like, it's better. Now, that's not true necessarily when it comes to oils. A lot of oils, in a way, are so structurally similar that depending on what kind of field you want to create with the oil, you can actually put in a lot more of like the more expensive or like the more active oils. Besides, like right off the top of my head, besides maybe rose hip or black cumin, borage, can't think of anything right now, tamanu. There aren't a lot of things where having that oil at 100% might not be very pleasant. So the ones I just named, like, I would never use tamanu 100% on my face. I mean, I can't say never. I have. Disaster. I love tamanu in a smaller percentage in a formula. Love it. It's in Midnight. Love it. It does so much good for my skin, so much good for many of your use guys' skin, as long as you're not allergic to it. But 100% tamanu is awful, personally, on my skin. First of all, I hate the way it smells. I don't like its texture. And it burns. It's like worse than sunscreen if it's anywhere near my eyes. It's just like eyeballs are like on fire. So you don't want always 100% of something. You can't just pile in more and more and more and more and just think that it's going to be better. So that's really not what you're paying for in a formula necessarily. So whereas you don't want just a bunch of filler, you also don't want a whole bunch of actives. Not safe. It's like, on one hand, bunch of filler. It's like, what are you really getting anything out of it? And then on the other hand, too many actives is just like your face is gonna fall off. So in the end, what you are paying for, or what you should pay for in like in an honest company, not the honest company, but in an honest company is you're paying for the knowledge. You're paying for the amount of experimentation that went into that formula, how many versions of that formula came before that final one. Like, you can't even imagine like how often these things get tweaked, and it's like, ooh, 1% or 1.2%. What's going to be better? It's like, it can get pretty intense. So yes, you are paying for ingredients, but you're also paying for the knowledge, right? And also, there's a very fine line and a sweet spot whenever we are purchasing our bulk ingredients between getting as much as we can to make it a little bit cheaper. I hate that word, but like less expensive for us, because we get a better deal if we're buying 25 kilograms of something, which I've finally started doing, versus 1 kilogram of something. So the more we can buy, the better it is. Of course, we also have to be able to sell it, because if it's sitting around for 2 years, like, blah, like you can't have, raw ingredients selling out. Yes, it can sell out. That's okay. It can't be sitting around. So, it's really finding that threshold and that sweet spot between getting as much as we can, but also an amount that we know we can actually move through. So the way that I try to find ingredients, I don't always go for the most exotic. I don't always go for what's trendy and super expensive. Like some of it's not even trendy anymore, but like argan oil, like when it was all the rage back in like 2010, 2011 or whatever, I picked some up in Kuwait actually, and really liked it, and I started using it. But I don't always go for the trendy oils per se. Like, I'm not easily impressed by things just because everyone else is using it. Like, I have my favorites. Like, I love broccoli seed oil. It's not cool. It's broccoli. Broccoli will never be cool, but love it. Black cumin seed, that was another one for me from Kuwait, where I became really interested in black cumin seed. That's an amazing oil. I love its earthy, musky scent. It's so dark and like almost syrupy. It cures everything. I don't remember what the name in Arabic is for it, but the belief is that it's like a cure-all. That cures everything except for death, is what they say. I don't know about that, but it is pretty good. And so it's also, it comes down to, are you paying for something because it's super rare, and is that worth it for you? Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but that is a question to ask yourself. If something is like from a basically endangered plant and it costs, $5,000 a kilogram, like, is that important to you? I don't know, maybe it is. Maybe it's like literally the only oil that'll work for you, but sometimes I think it's just a lot of hype, and it's just a lot of like, feeling special because you're using something special, which I'm not judging. Sometimes that's okay. Seriously, sometimes that's okay. Like, I have certain essential oils that I love because I think that they're precious, and other ones that I won't use because I think that they're precious. Like, I love neroli because it comes from the bitter orange tree. And I know that there's a lot of bitter oranges out there. Like, I've been, if you've been to Spain, California, whatever, like, you see orange trees everywhere, and neroli is beautiful and it's precious. And yeah, it is expensive, but it's not unsustainable. As far as I know, I don't think it's unsustainable. I'm sure you could find a document somewhere on the internet that says it is. I'm saying it's not. But blue tansy, for example, I'm not hearing good things about blue tansy's future. That worries me. I mean, I wanted to start experimenting with it, but in the end, I've found some alternatives that I'm going to be using instead. So that's kind of ingredients in a nutshell. Of course, there's packaging. Whenever something is very unique in its packaging, you can rest assured. If I'm looking over here, it's because that's where my monitor is now, so it's kind of confusing. The more unique that a package is, the more you're paying for it. If something has been etched onto glass or silk screened onto glass, that means that company had to send off probably like at minimum 10,000 bottles of that particular bottle my screen just froze there, of that particular bottle off to a silk screener or a glass etcher or whatever to to have all those bottles custom printed, and that costs to me a prohibitive amount of money, especially since I have to send stuff off to the States to get things like that done usually. Or any kind of packaging that you've never seen on any other company before, different color or different shapes, different technology. I'm not saying that it's not always worth it, but I am saying that you're definitely paying for that. So that's one reason why I've stuck with my amber bottles. They're not that expensive. I like the way that they look. They're not exactly innovative, but they're really old school, and they've been working for a long time. Now, a word about those Myron bottles. I love them. I thought about switching over to them way back in 2011. I have to import them from the States, and in the end, they become extremely, extremely, extremely expensive. They are way more than the bottles that I currently use. And I do use them for my perfume, but do I think that they are so much better than my brown amber bottles? Not really. Not really, to be honest. If I had products that had to be sitting on a shelf for like 2 or 3 years, then I would probably switch to that. But I know you guys get through your Stark products like pretty quickly. So, and the amber does protect it from light. There's no problem there. So it doesn't need to be in the specialized Myron Ultra V, blah, 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 those black violet glass, which is supposed to increase the effectiveness over time, but like it's over years and doesn't really increase the effectiveness. It just doesn't decrease as quickly as it would if it were like sitting out in the air in the open. So I don't know. It's really expensive. It's cool, but like in the end, it's just a bottle. So I don't know. Other things you're paying for are the types of lids. Lids, you would think is just like an add-on, something super cheap to order. Lids are friggin' expensive, you guys. It always shocks me. You're also paying for labels, so even if we're not getting fancy things sketched on or whatever, like the labels that we purchase are much more expensive than just some crappy sticker. Let me tell you, the technology that goes into a label is astounding. Like you wouldn't think. Like if you've ever had one of those products where you're like, oh, I brought this thing into the shower and it's all coming off and what's wrong with it and blah, blah, blah. It's not actually a label. It's a sticker. You need a label, and labels cost, they're like, okay, if I have to get a really small order, I'm paying sometimes like $1 a label. $1 a label. I try to always, of course, order a lot so that I can get it down to like, 20 cents. But it does take pretty big orders to get the price down, because we want labels that are going to last a long time. They do eventually peel, but they are resistant to UV, resistant to grease, resistant to water, and they look good for a long time. And the colors are consistent, super bright, and to me that's really important because I love my graphic design and I want to keep it looking really good over the years, and from bottle to bottle, the colors are always consistent. And then you're also paying for, and this has been the bane of my existence, 2017, is the outer packaging. So, so my particular challenge with outer packaging is that I'm direct to consumer. I'm just pure e-commerce. So I need something that is going to communicate with the customer. At the same time, I know it's just a throwaway item. And this is like my... I like my cotton bags because you can reuse them. They're super cute. They're just like a nice little home for the products. But at the same time, like, I don't know, they're kind of expensive. They're a lot of work. I hand stamp every single one of them. Every product goes in. It goes in with the little cards. The little cards I have to pay for also. Put it in the bag, roll it up, put the sticker around it, put the SKU sticker on it. Like, it's manually, it's like very intensive. so that is something that, sorry, like a huge wasp was going around my window. That's something that's probably gonna change for me in 2018, just because the whole process isn't very lean and efficient, and it leads to just too much waste. And I do want to get down to as close to zero waste as possible. So I do have some interesting, yet I think like very simple, elegant solution to my particular outside packaging problem. Hope you guys are gonna like it. So that'll be a 2018 sort of thing. And then you're paying for the most obscene amount of shipping you can't even imagine. So even if a company is not direct to consumer, you're, as the customer, you're paying for shipping. So one thing I get from customers is, why is your shipping so expensive? Sometimes it is. It's not within the US. It's not so bad within Canada. My international rates are ridiculous. I'm actually taking a little break from international shipping at the moment. When it comes back, I will make an announcement, but just some issues with my warehouse and with their new exporting rules, and it's on my to-do list, but I'm just very overwhelmed with life right now, so I haven't got to it. But shipping is ridiculous. To ship a small package from Canada to Hong Kong is $90 regular mail. 90. Like I'm $10 less than $100. Explain that to me. I don't know. It's expensive. Everything in Canada is crazy expensive. I don't know why. And then we just pay taxes on top of everything. So I'm sorry about shipping. It's very expensive. And then you also have to remember, like, okay, so people are like, well, this company offers free shipping and this company, nothing's free. It's not free. It's just worked into the prices. Like, there's nothing free. It doesn't exist. You're paying for it. The company's paying for it. Somebody is paying for it, like, down the line. I'm just upfront about it. I try to keep my prices as lean as possible, but then I'm like, but here's your shipping price. And it just is what it is. Maybe it's $5, maybe it's $25. I don't know. It depends on what you choose, and it depends where you live, unfortunately. But, pros and cons to everything. So did I mention you're also paying for the research and development of ingredients? You're paying for the person's time, which is really hard to calculate. You're paying for where stuff is being sourced from, how much is bought. You're paying for, quality, obviously. Is it organic? Is it fair trade? In my case, yes and yes. I'm not certified. You're paying for certifications. You're paying for overhead like rent. So the company, like, does it have a huge, workshop? Does it have a retail space? How many employees does it have? In my case, studio in my apartment, no employees, no storefront, maybe one day. I don't know. You're paying for how rare and exotic ingredients are. You are paying for light, you're paying for electricity, you're paying for cat food, you're paying for not cat food, how much a company is traveling around and going to trade shows. One could argue, well, maybe these companies, it's not the customer paying for it, it's the volume, it's just how much is being sold. But in indie beauty, you'd be surprised that the volume's probably not as high as you think it is. A lot of it is just how much profit, which isn't a bad thing. Everyone's allowed to make a profit, obviously. But how much profit, how much maybe debt some companies are going into, if they have investors, like, there's just a lot to think about. There's definitely a lot, what kind of business model they have. So if they have a storefront, if they have a spa, if they're selling online, if they're distributing internationally, that all has to be worked into the pricing model. Yeah. So, did I kind of get through? That was sort of my list, I think. Yeah, 24 minutes. One day I'm going to do a 10-minute video, you guys. That was not today. So that, I know I'm probably forgetting so much right now. My head I'm not in like a business head, or headspace. So, I hope that kind of is a little bit enlightening, kind of gives you some ideas about what you pay for in green beauty and just in other industries in general, like yeah, like in fashion, like I said, there's a certain model. In jewelry, it's definitely like a different markup model. But when it comes to cosmetics notoriously has a markup scheme that doesn't really make sense. So we should be almost closer to food if you think about it. Maybe pharmaceuticals if you think about it. But cosmetics is kind of its own thing, it's its own animal altogether. And yeah, I mean, so in a lot of ways, you do get what you pay for. You just don't always know what you're paying for. So ask questions. It's good. Okay, I hope you guys have a great week, life, and see you around. Bye.